And they said, why do you want to go back to Iraq? I said, I'm not done killing Muslims. 2 tours in Somalia, Bosnia, Afghanistan, and Iraq.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have been called a terrorist, which is what I would have been.
Yeah.
Because I'm white. Because I don't have religious affiliation as far as Islam. Now, if I would have been a Muslim and did something like that to a supermarket.
We know how that goes. That story is easily predictable.
Oh, yeah. But she goes, what do you mean? I said, they're all Muslim. Like it didn't matter.
They're the other.
Yeah, they're the other. Because she knows I hate Muslims.
Yeah.
Now I'm reading the Quran. What is going on? And, right? The famous saying that's usually always said by a bigot is that I don't want my family around those people.
Yeah.
I would be considered a criminal. I knew that. But I saw it as doing one last thing for my country. And I knew I would end up in federal prison. I knew I would end up with a needle in my arm. I knew that. And that's the way I felt. If I got rid of this hatred, I would die because it's the only thing keeping me alive.
Yeah, so literally this
and I was like, bam. I want to see what they got to say about this. So then they explained it. And it was an historical passage that was presented. I decided, without telling anybody, I'm going to go visit these people. I'm going to give them a chance to prove me wrong.
God.
I mean, I was raised with Christian values, I guess you'd say. My mom was fairly religious in Christianity.
So you would have been
at that point in my life, at least, America was my religion. 8 weeks later, from the first day I stepped foot in that Islamic center, I took my Shahada.
This is the Dean Show. This is the Dean.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the Dean Show, and we got an exciting episode as always. I don't think just looking at your resume that we could have found someone who was more American. I mean, I'm American, right? Background Bosnian. You were in Desert Storm, Desert Shield. You were deployed all over the place. You spent Marine Corps, HUA. You serving your country. American pie.
American pie, yeah. I guess that'd be it.
On the Dean Show, Richard McKinney.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm great.
Did I hit that right? Desert Storm, Desert Shield. You were
Desert Shield, then Desert Storm. It actually started in Panama in '89. Panama, Just Cause.
Yeah.
Shield, Storm, 2 tours in Somalia, Bosnia, Afghanistan, and Iraq.
Yeah. So it was like country and loyalty and patriotism at the max.
Oh yeah. America, at that point in my life, at least, America was my religion. It was everything to me. It meant everything.
Yeah. And we say, God bless America, because you want the best. May God guide America. May all Americans, may God Almighty bestow his mercy on all human beings. And this is something that's so important, because we're mentioning this, but some people attribute this loyalty to hating another group of people. So you went above and beyond, and now it wasn't channeled in the right direction. You're like, let me be a little bit more loyal, and I'm going to go blow up some Muslims.
Well, yeah. To be honest with you, see, I was wounded in Iraq.
Yeah.
And
wounded in Iraq.
Wounded in Iraq.
So now you got even more scars.
Right.
Yeah.
So when that happened, they decided to medically retire me.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't done. They came to visit me in the hospital, and they started talking about retirement and all these benefits and this, that, and the other. I said, no. I'm going back to Iraq. And they looked at me kind of weird, and they said, why do you want to go back to Iraq? I said, I'm not done killing Muslims.
American Sniper?
No.
Is that you?
No, that was not me. No, gosh, no.
That's not you, American Sniper, on the Dean Show now?
I don't have patience to be a sniper.
Okay. But you heard of American Sniper,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So say that again. So you're like, I want to go back.
Because I'm not done killing Muslims.
Wow.
Yeah. Even in Bosnia, I remember we were there and we got called in for an operation to do some security. They had a international CSI team, basically. They had gotten information, located a mass grave, 200 plus, maybe, I don't know, some odd bodies, men, women, children, some clothes, some not. And at that point, they were all skeletons. And they were going through doing their, criminal findings, whatever it is they do. Okay. And I remember being the leader of that team. I was in the center. All my boys were out doing security, and I was in the center by the Humvee, and a lady come up to me and she goes, "Isn't it just terrible what human beings do to each other sometimes?" And I had a cigarette and I just took a puff and I said, "Not really." She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "They're all Muslim." Like it didn't matter.
They're the other.
Yeah, they're the other. So even though we were there more or less to keep the peace, to make sure that the war didn't start up again and Muslims weren't being persecuted and killed and, all that. I did at that point I was in the Army, and I just did what they told me to do. I didn't have to like it. So, it was just this hatred started to infest me and build. And I've actually compared it to an organ in our body.
Yeah.
We don't ever want to lose an organ. We'll die, right? And that's the way I felt. If I got rid of this hatred, I would die because it's the only thing keeping me alive.
So literally, this was fueling your life. You felt your heart was hate.
Hate.
So you could be fueling it with love and understanding and other beautiful things, but you were fueling it with something so toxic, hate, and it was just keeping you, like you said, alive.
Alive. Yeah.
Wow. So you're in the Marines or Army?
Well, I joined the Marine Corps, retired from the Army. I still claim the Marine Corps because they're the Marines.
Yeah.
And I'll always be a Marine. But after my second tour in Somalia, I decided that it was time for me to make a break and try to be a civilian. And at 25, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I didn't graduate high school. I got a GED when I was stationed in Japan. The reason I didn't graduate high school is I was a teenage runaway. I was involved in drugs. I got expelled from my last high school simply because I was selling drugs. So because of all that, the military was my life. But now I had to put that on the back burner because it was starting to affect me emotionally. And when I got out, I tried to get work, but I didn't have any skills. So I decided I'm going to go into the Army. And that was it.
Does the environment there fuel this kind of hate? Did this condition you? Like, where did this come from? Was it the environment of being in the military? Before the military, did you have this hatred towards Muslims?
Oh no, even after 9/11, I didn't have a hatred towards Muslims. It's just something, and it's something that happened. And I think when it really took off was when they told me, "You're done. You've got to get out. You're done." So I got out.
That was because of your injury?
Yeah.
You got shot?
I was blown up.
Blown up?
Well, that's what I tell people. I don't really know. I don't remember any of it. I was on the second floor of a building in Ramadi in 2006. And I was looking out on the street to the security teams and to make sure there wasn't anything going out because we was going to leave this building. I didn't want to walk my guys into a firefight. So it's the last thing I remember. Woke up in the hospital. The guys who came to visit me in the hospital says, "Dang, Sarge, only thing missing from you was a cape because you flew straight across the street." I don't remember it. Messed my back up, broke my shoulder.
You got blown up.
Yeah.
You were
I had
flying.
some scar on my leg.
As soon as you're flying, you're blowing up.
Somewhere. Yeah.
But thank God you're still here.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Wow. Alhamdulillah. We got to get you on. We're going to get him on the Joe Rogan show and hook up with. They got the David Giggins and the Jocko. What's the other guy? Jocko? Jocko who? Willick. We got to hook. You heard of Jocko Willick? David Giggins. These are all military men, and they're doing some good. They got some inspirational, motivational material that's out there. But you're at another level, man. Yeah. This is another level because you're really, now with your story, and we're getting more deep into it as more of a positive message because you can actually, with this message, help change hearts and minds and prevent people from going to a whole nother level, thinking they're taking their patriotism to that level that you thought, because you were actually almost at the mosque with a IED, that's a bomb, and ready to kill 200, 300 plus. I mean, Jumu'ah can be like, I don't know how much they hold at that mosque, but you can have hundreds of people.
It depends if
innocent men, women, and children
is in or not. If school's in, and we have to pray out in the hallway sometimes.
Yeah. So you were one of those guys that were now plotting. Some have actually done it. You were actually on your way to do it. What's going through your mind, man?
Well, it was
This is like, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
this is
no.
like, man, this is like some
Yeah.
like you can't make this stuff up stuff. Like I have one of those guys right next to me, you know, that was plotting. There's some out there right now that hopefully they're tuning in, and we can get them to unplot and have them do what you did to actually rewire some of these circuits and awaken your heart, you know.
Inshallah.
Yeah,
Inshallah.
inshallah, God willing.
So what had happened was I didn't have any more wars. My wars are done now. I know that I'm done. So
Wow.
what I did, I guess, because I'm asked, where does hatred come from? What was it that made you go to this extent? And as I thought about it, I created a war for myself. Common enemy, Islam, Muslims, right? Nobody in America likes them, or in
What the
my-
media is telling you,
right?
You're getting programmed now.
Right. And so that's when I started this plan. And I knew that by law, I would be considered a criminal. I knew that. But I saw it as doing one last thing for my country. And I knew I would end up in federal prison. I knew I would end up with a needle in my arm. I knew that. I was okay with that. I was okay with that because it didn't matter. Because, see, the whole thing, what really upset me in the military, I wanted to die. I wanted to die because here in America, if you're a soldier, if you're a Marine, whatever, and you go to combat and you die, you come back in a flag draped coffin, you are forever known as a hero. No matter what you did in your past, all your sins are washed away in society's eyes. And that's what I was shooting for. And it never happened.
Was it connected? So it wasn't connected to God. It was just country. What were you
Country.
religious? Did you believe in God?
I mean, I was raised with Christian values, I
Yeah.
guess you'd say. My mom was fairly religious in Christianity.
So you would have been linked back to being a Christian.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, the headlines probably would have said something like veteran suffering from PTSD, has a breakdown or something like that,
Yeah.
right? I wouldn't have been called a terrorist, which is what I would have been
Yeah.
because I'm white, because I don't have religious affiliation as far as Islam. Now, if I would have been a Muslim and did something like that to a supermarket,
We know how that goes.
Yeah.
That story is easily predictable.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I've just been known as a poor veteran that had emotional issues from the war.
Yeah.
That'd been it. So, and that was what led me to create this plan. And I had been planning it for well over a year, almost 2 years, and piecing everything together. I wasn't in a hurry. Patience, because I didn't want to raise any alarms that would cancel this out. So I just took my time, and I was close. I only needed a couple more items, I mean, I could have got those any day. Just it was a matter of going to get them. And my daughter came home from school. She was like 7 years old. She comes home from school and she talks about this boy that sat next to her, and his mom came and got him from school, and she was dressed she was dressed like a Muslim woman, and when she started to, because children don't have prejudice, children don't see differences in people like adults do.
Yes.
And when she was describing this woman, I went off. I just exploded.
She's describing a Muslim woman.
A Muslim woman.
Yeah.
And the famous saying that's usually always said by a bigot is that I don't want my family around those people.
Yeah.
And so my daughter looked at me like I was totally just out of my mind. And somehow, some way, for whatever reason, a light bulb came on and says, my hatred's mine, but now I'm pushing it on her. That's wrong.
Do you see this where people are becoming victims of this hate machine that is this hate that's perpetuated because now the war machine, you got to go and create this perception like they are the other, so now it's easier to kill the other because naturally we're all human beings. It's just in our innate nature. I don't think people just they're not born racist. They're not born with this hate. This hate is like Nelson Mandela, he said, people aren't born hating.
Mm-hmm.
They're taught this. You got to teach them how to love. So now, to go where you see a lot of wars happening, and now this false persona, this is misinformation is created, and now the average person, through the media and through the hate provocateurs, corrupt politicians, and you name it, the list goes on, pushing out all of this, and now the average layman like you is just watching Fox News, and now he's just getting he becomes a victim to this hate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If we put those pieces together, it's safe to assume this is what you fell victim to that.
We call it the echo chamber.
What is that called?
The echo chamber or echo box. It's where, when it comes to especially media, you only associate yourself with stuff that is like-minded to the way you already feel.
Yeah.
So it just reinforces it.
Yeah.
And
But but most people, when you ask most people, they'll be like, you can't believe the media, like even
Sure.
Americans. But why with this, they believe the media? It's like selective ignorance. You get my point?
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to say that Americans by nature are and is a generalized statement, but they're not the go-getters that they once used to be.
Yeah.
They're the ones that sit back and let them come to them, and that's the way they filter their news and their beliefs is, majority rules, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's the social norm. We're going to go with the social norm. We're not going to detour from that at all.
Yeah.
And it's easier that way.
So the herd mentality, just following what everybody.
Absolutely.
And you can link this back also because you talk about drinking how much vodka a day?
Half gallon every 2 days.
Half gallon every 2 days. So you're already bitter. You're already angry, and now you got to blame somebody.
Oh yeah.
Why not blame the Muslims?
Yeah, and
as if that's going to make the economy better. If that's going to make everything, just all your problems go away. The pain in your heart.
Oh yeah, and because you look at things and things that bother you and things that hurt you and things that hold you down, okay, that once you overcome those, the pain that you felt is still there.
Yes.
It's still there. It's still there until you're willing to give up yourself. You have to give up yourself and go to something greater, which is the end result of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up becoming a Muslim.
Oh wow, this is like they got to make we need some Hollywood producers out there to make us get. We got the script ready, and this needs to be.
They're
movie.
actually in
the process.
Talk about that.
This needs to be made. This is like this is a direct film to challenge this American Sniper. I mean, this is the American hero right here, man. Who I'm sitting next to, right? That actually, chose love over hate, and this is the story that everyone needs to hear. That's why we got our brother here on the Dean Show. So you're making plans to kill innocent human beings, and Muslims are simply those in houses of worship that you were about to attack. And now I always like to define words because now, in these words, people think Muslim. I say, hold on. They ask me, are you Muslim? I say, by Muslim, do you mean someone who has chosen freely to submit his will to the creator of the heavens and earth and be the best morally upright person? I'm a Muslim. But if you associated me with some crazy stuff in your mind, you could take that and have that and keep it all, right? And the change. So you were going to kill those types of people. Yeah. So what happens then?
Well, after I had the blow up in front of my daughter and she created that light bulb in my brain, I decided, without telling anybody, I'm going to go visit these people. I'm going to give them a chance to prove me wrong and to prove my plan as invalid.
She softened your heart?
Opened it. I won't say softened it. Opened it. Yeah. Opened it. So I did. Went there on the Juma. I knew Fridays was prayer. That was when I was planning on doing.
That's like the congregational prayer.
Yeah. I knew Friday was when most people would be there. And so I went early, and I walked into the Islamic Center, and there was a African American gentleman. He used to play pro basketball back in the 70s, so it took him like 3 minutes to actually stand up straight. Mm-hmm. And he looked at me. He was in his shoe room taking off his shoes, and he looked at me and he smiled, and I looked at him, and he knew I was kind of out of place because I looked confused. Yeah. And he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah. I want you to teach me about Islam." He said, he smiled and kind of chuckled a little bit. He says, "Well, how much time you got?" I said, well, I looked at my watch. I said, I got a couple hours, which still makes me laugh because I think, you can't teach anybody anything in 2 hours, but especially a theology, right?
Yes.
And Islam is just too complicated to teach in 2 hours. But he smiled and he says, we'll give it a shot. So I stayed for Juma. And even still, I thought, well, the hutbah or the sermon, the message that was being presented that day was a good one. Oh, it was good. I told myself they were just saying that because I was there.
Yeah.
And
they were doing taqiyya. You heard?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it was just, they were just doing that because I was there, right? That they want to portray this peacefulness and all
this. And for people that I know, because many of the Islamophobes, they use this they throw out this word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Taqiyya, like they're lying. You're eventually going to find out the lie, and it's going to anger you even more.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
obviously there was no lie. You liked what you're hearing, and what happened then?
Yeah, and so then I get introduced to another gentleman, another Muslim brother, and he takes me in the library. There was a couch there at the time, and we sat down. We started talking. He said, "You ever read the Quran?" And I said, Nope, never have, man. He went over to the bookshelf, got a copy, handed it to me. He said, I want you to read this. And when you get questions in your mind, come back and see us, man. Ask us. And so I did. Now, to jump back just a little bit, I didn't tell anybody my intentions. I went there presenting myself as somebody who wanted to learn a little bit more about a religion that few people knew about outside of Muslims themselves. So they didn't know I was this mad bomber. They didn't know that. And
they had no clue about your plans.
No clue. Nobody knew about my plans. Anybody that knew me knew that I did not like Muslims. They knew I hated Muslims.
No, an FBI, CIA.
We're getting to that.
Yeah.
So what happened was I went home. I read the Quran. And my wife started to freak out a little bit because she knows I hate Muslims.
Yeah.
Now I'm reading the Quran. What is going on, right? She's getting really worried because she's thinking, after I told her I went to the Islamic Center, that I was going to do something.
Did some of this rub off on her? Was she starting to hate?
No. She was pretty much, people are people.
Yeah.
There's good and there's bad.
Yeah.
That's just the way she led her life.
Yeah.
And so I read it, and I come up with questions. I read passages like the famous kill all the non-believers, right? And stuff like that.
Things they throw out. Chapter 9,
and I was like, bam. I want to see what they got to say about this. So then they explained it. And it was an historical passage that was presented to explain what was going on at that time.
Yeah.
The non-believers were not the Christians. They were not the Jews. They were the pagans. So it had nothing to do with
you being
anybody.
a man of combat, you can understand those are combative verses for combat in a historical context.
Yeah. And sometimes you got to feel that way.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I like that. That makes sense. And then I stumbled upon other verses that stuck out, and the two most to this day that filled me with love and really, really opened my heart was to take one human life is like killing all of humanity, but to save a human life is like saving all of humanity.
Chapter 5, verse 32, yes.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that out there.
Nothing.
You're saving all of humanity by saving one life.
Right.
That's
right.
how great it is in the sight of God Almighty.
And I was like, wait a minute. What book are these insurgents and these Al-Qaeda members and these ISIS members, what book are they reading? Because the way they're acting is totally against everything I'm reading right here in the book. Mm-hmm. This is it. If you don't believe, as a Muslim, for whatever reason, you don't believe in anything else, you have to believe in the Quran. What book are they reading? Because of their actions. So that, as a semi-intelligent person, I had to rationalize. They do not speak for Islam. That's not Islam. And in the meantime, these people are so nice to me welcoming, inviting me to their homes for dinners, not knowing that I have plans to blow up this building with them in it. 8 weeks later, from the first day I stepped foot in that Islamic center, I took my Shahada.
So now 8 weeks from when you made the human connection, you actually stepped in, brave enough, you came into mosque, teach me about Islam. 8 weeks later, now you're doing what Jesus did, what Moses did, what the last and final messenger, Prophet Muhammad did, what the best of humanity did. You submitted your will to God. You took the Shahada. You declared there's nothing worthy of worship except the one God, and Muhammad is his messenger. That's simple.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, because you know, there's always this thing that Muslims are telling you, if you're not a Muslim, we're going to kill you and stuff like that.
It's
you know,
just
all that
crazy,
craziness, right? And when I went there and told them, I said, I want to take Shahada.
Yeah.
And they were like, whoa, hold on. Are you sure about this, man? It's not been that long, you know? And I says, no, it's what I need to do.
Yeah.
I don't, it's not a want, it's a need.
Yeah.
I have to do this because I have to start living my life by a different set of ideas. And I like the doctrine that Islam teaches, that Islam presents to humanity. It's important. And I want to be a part of that. And so I did. 6 months after that, I told them who I really was and what I was really planning to do. They were blown away. Totally just wow. And I took that story and I started telling other people. And as I'm telling people, I'm at home one day and I get a knock on the door.
6 months, half a year later now.
Yeah. I get a knock on the door.
Let me guess who.
The Phoebe, as one of the brothers calls it, the Phoebe, the FBI.
Where are you guys? Oh, man.
And because somebody had, called them.
Yeah.
They were concerned, and especially now because I'm a Muslim. Well, they didn't know that as this nationalist that I was, that I was going to do this. As a Muslim, I'm totally against that. So, everything had been gone, so there really wasn't even a case because they had no evidence. I had already disposed of things the way they should have been disposed of, and there was nothing left. That was it because I didn't need it, and so that was open for a while. That's when my wife found out what I had planned. She didn't even know. Nobody knew. And when the FBI and the bomb dog came to the house, she was floored. She didn't talk to me for a couple days.
Yeah.
So.
But she knows you're Muslim now.
Yeah. I remember I came home after I took Shahada. Again, I didn't tell her, which is something I'm still trying to work through in the military because I belong to groups of people that you just didn't tell anybody anything. You don't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm still working through that, not telling my wife things, which, as you know, can be pretty devastating in a marriage. So, I told her, I said, hey, I took Shahada. She goes, did what? She didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm a Muslim. And she goes, what? It was so funny. She says, well, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm not wearing a bunch of scarves on my head or anything like that. I'm not covering up. And I said, you're not a Muslim. I wouldn't even expect you to. And she says, and another thing, if you want 4 wives, I'm not going to be one of them. and that kind of made me laugh. And I was like, and to myself, I kept this in. I was like, I don't know if I really want the one now. 4? I just think that's masochistic. I don't know. But, so, and it was 4 years later, she became a Muslim.
So now your wife also, she accepted Islam.
Islam, yes.
Yeah. She obviously, she did her homework. She researched. And that's what we're just asking people to do. Do what you did. Real simple. Make the human connection. Go experience things for yourself. Go to an open house. Read the Quran and look. I mean, man, this is just amazing. You were courageous enough. I mean, this is true-bred American, and you thought that you were taking it to another level by going to, have you ever met one of these people that heard your story and said, man, I was about to do the same thing until I heard you?
Not necessarily in those words. When the video came out, out of curiosity, I read the comments, And well, I read a lot of them. I didn't read all of them. There was a lot of comments, and most of them were good. It was a 9-to-1 ratio, I was told, good to bad, which is pretty crazy. Over 1 million views. So 9-to-1 ratio, good to bad. One of the comments stood out to me, and I won't say exactly what he said. He had a very colorful tongue to him, but basically he said, if a bad dude like you can change the way he thinks, I guess I can too.
American as can be, serving his country, and look at like exactly what you said. Look, they might be hating, but now you are at the top of the hate. Where are you going to go more above this, right? And there was nothing there.
Well, and that's, and you know, my soldiers, if they were still around or if they were here, they'd tell you the same thing. They thought I was something else, because it made them proud for me to be their sergeant, their platoon sergeant, their team leader, their squad leader. It made them,
Sarge,
yeah,
sergeant.
yeah, and so it made them proud, because fire broke out, we'd start getting shot at. I just stood there and handed out commands. I didn't run for cover and like one of my soldiers curl up and suck his thumb. It actually happened. You know, and I didn't do that, because I wasn't done, and I had this sense of immortality to me. I wasn't done, and I still use that today. You know, I tell people that I'm not going anywhere, not until I'm done, and that's what I say. Not until I'm done, and when I'm done, He'll decide, and then He'll take me. Nobody else has that power.
It's amazing how the creator of the heavens and earth, Allah, how he's able to change hearts and then use that person like yourself and as a amazing example for others to really reflect and think over. Mm-hmm. Tell us, you're in the supermarket, and you see a couple women. They're just wearing what Jesus' mother would have been wearing, you know, the hijab, imitating Mary, who there's a whole chapter named after her in the Quran. Yes. You see these women, and you're ready to snap a neck?
I actually broke down and cried. It wasn't in a supermarket. It was in a DSW shoe store, big shoe store. And went there because I have a wife, and that's what wives do. Yeah. They go buy shoes. And so I was there with her, and there was these two Muslim ladies wearing black burqas. Really stood out. And so I told them, I sat down in a chair and I started crying, and my wife got all concerned. She goes, "What's wrong?" Because I was still having some emotional issues with being back and being away from the wars, you know. And I just started crying, and I says, well, I won't say what I actually said, but, you know, it's those two women over there. I'm trying to drum up the courage and the intestinal fortitude to go over there and break both their necks.
Man.
Because they're in my store, and they shouldn't even be in my country. And, you know, it's shamefully that I tell these stories, and you know, I'm not proud of any of this, but I tell it because it needs to be told, and people need to understand. You know, like I've said, you know, Allah had a plan for me. I think He could have come through a little bit sooner, but that's not up to me. That's up to Him. You know, yeah. But I had to be all the way over here to the right, be this hardcore person that had this hatred in his heart, that didn't even flinch an eye at taking a life, to be this person over here. I had to experience that, because otherwise, how can I talk about it? I lived it. I was it, you know. And since then, I've tried to reach people, and people don't have to like me. I tell people many times, you know, I'm not looking for more friends. Friends take time. I don't have time. I got a message, and I got to deliver that message, and this is what Allah planned for me. So I ended up resigning from my job, my 9 to 5. I was working with homeless veterans. Very admirable job, very rewarding, and I think Allah took great pleasure on me doing that job. But I had to make a choice, and that choice was made for me. That's the whole thing. It was made for me. When I was at the JFK Library speaking, and I stayed around a little bit afterwards, I was out walking around the library, and a guy came up to me, and he goes, "I just wanted to tell you thanks." I says, "Okay, for what?" He goes, "You saved my life." And I was like, "Dude, how did I save your life?" He said, "Well, long story short, my wife left. Took the kids. She's with another man right now. Tonight I was going to commit suicide. I listened to you talk, and it made me realize we all have a purpose. We all have a purpose. I just need to find out what mine is. And that's what I'm going to commit my energy to now, is finding what my purpose is." At that point, I knew what I had to do. I had to quit. And so I went back and I told them what happened, exactly what happened. And they were like, "Yep, this is what you need to do." So here I am.
That's amazing. Couple more things I just wanted to ask you. You mentioned it was very interesting that you spent some time in Bosnia.
Mm-hmm.
This is where one of the greatest genocide happened after World War II,
Mm-hmm.
and there was many war criminals there. Karadzic, was it?
Milosevic. Codename Elvis.
Codename Elvis?
Because of his hair. They called him codename. Yeah, his codename was Elvis because of his hairdo.
So you were. Tell us about that.
April 15th, 2004, we went on a raid to Pale, Serbia,
Yeah.
and to grab him and bring him back.
Milosevic.
Yeah, Milosevic.
Yeah.
To grab him and bring him back for trial. We was going to send him to The Hague and for trial for war crimes. Got the intel that he was going to be here meeting with this priest and the priest's son, and like most intel, it was wrong, and he wasn't there. He had just left. But the priest was there, and the priest's son was there. We burst through the door, did what we had to do. The priest and his son came at us with weapons, and we eliminated the target. And I used to jokingly just say, "Well, that's my that's my speed ticket to the fire. I just shot a priest." But
So they came shooting at you with
they actually didn't get a shot off.
Yeah.
They just came at us with weapons.
They came at you with weapons.
Yeah.
So you're defending yourself.
Yeah.
You're you're in the military, American military.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. So I like to bring this up to our Christian friends who are watching out there, that in this part of the world where my roots come from, Bosnia, we were the original Christians that accepted Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Unitarian Christians who believed, they were called the Bogomils, those close to God. That's what they were nicknamed. They believed in Jesus as a mighty messenger like Abraham, Moses. They worshiped like Jesus did. They prostrate like we do, put their heads on the ground. They didn't go into the churches. They were, disconnected from it. They were considered heretics, but most people today would be considered heretics because most people, they don't fall in line with Trinity, God being three in one. They believe in there's one God, to worship Him alone,
Right.
and that's what these Bosnians believed. And when Islam came, like when it came to you and so many millions and millions of people now who are accepting Islam, that pure monotheism of only worshiping the Creator, not the creation, those Bosnians accepted it. And this is how you have it in the heart of Europe till today. You actually visited that country also,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're also someone who went into a mosque. You've connected, and you turned this hate into love. But some people now, they're watching, hearing this beautiful story. What would you say, in conclusion, to a person who's out there and he might be right now plotting
Mm-hmm.
and planning, and he's thinking of doing what you are doing,
Mm-hmm.
and taking it to that, what you would say, he thinks he's being more American now, and he's about to do something like that you were planning on doing, but he's tuning in. What would you tell him?
First of all, American, It's not a geographical location. This is what a lot of us misunderstand. It's a philosophy. I got this idea when I saw a little girl crying in Syria. She was more of an American at that point in her life than most Americans that have lived there their whole entire life. Born here, raised here. It was simply because of her desires. And we all have desires, each and every one of us. And we try to accomplish those desires. Now, some of these desires might be hate-filled, like mine was. And my plans might take us to, or take some of us to other levels, to where we're actually going to create these atrocities to other human beings. Other human beings. That's the word you use. You don't use the word Christian. You don't use the word Muslim, Jewish, Hindu. Human beings. Allah made human beings. That's it. It's up to us to understand and through positive action propel human beings to a different level. And I've told many people that these dreams that we have, dreams are great. Dreams are great. Martin Luther King Jr. had a speech and he talked about his dream. Beautiful, beautiful, articulate words. I ask you, I plead to you, all the people, think about these dreams you have. Are they positive? Are they negative? What is the outcome? How does it affect human beings? And when you get to the point to where you can say this is a positive, this is going to help human beings to go forward in our society, in our world, then quit calling it a plan or quit calling it a dream. Call it a plan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You'll be on your way. You're in Indiana, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever see that big sign? You come in and it says, on one side it says, hell is real, Jesus is real. You didn't see that sign?
I didn't see it coming in, but there was all kinds of,
And that's amazing now because many people don't know that now. How is your relationship, final question, with Jesus now? If you say, man, he's left Jesus.
Well, actually, it's better because being a nationalist, that was my religion. I didn't pray to anything because I was the one. I remember in Somalia, I even used the words when I grabbed a hold of a lady that was struggling with us, and I grabbed a hold of her and just gave her that look, and I grabbed her by her shirt and I says, "Ana Allah."
What'd you say?
Ana Allah. I am God.
Wow. You got to that point of arrogance, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and being at that level I was at in the military, it's really less arrogance than it is survivability.
Wow.
It's how you survive, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to believe that, you're the one.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you're not gonna. That's what gave me the courage to, when bullets are flying, I'm standing up.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm not gonna get hit.
Yeah.
I'm not done.
Wow. If people want to reach out to hook up with you, to invite you to a university, a campus, someone to a church, wherever the case, to hear this story live, where can they
well, I'm still working on social media.
Yeah.
Gotten a few tips from your assistant,
Yeah.
and so he's helped me out a little bit. I'm kind of tech inept right now. So, I have a manager, Smarty Pants Productions.
Yeah.
They were the ones as Secret Life of Muslims. His name is Josh Seftel. Smarty Pants. They're in Brooklyn. He's Jewish, and he's the one who put this Secret Life of Muslims together.
Yeah.
Second season.
That was the video, the one that went viral.
the one that went to CBS Sunday Morning.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And because it's an internet. It's like yours. It's an internet show.
Yeah.
Okay. But he took my episode and gave it to a friend of his who happens to be the president of CBS, and says, "You need to watch this."
Yeah.
She put it on that Sunday morning program, the CBS Sunday Morning, and we were actually worried if it was going to air or not because the Mueller report just came out. We didn't know if he was going to get bumped because of the Mueller report,
Yeah.
because, I mean, the Mueller report or human interest,
Yeah.
So. But no, they aired it, and it blew up after that. Even my parents, when I became a Muslim, shortly after I became a Muslim, actually was because I became president of that Islamic Center.
Not.
Yeah.
Man, we're gonna have you back now. We got things. Just the story keeps evolving. You actually became president of the Islamic
3
Center.
years after I became a
Yeah,
Muslim.
wow.
I became president. I'm no longer president. Election came up, and I didn't run for another term because I was finishing my last semester in college. I just really didn't have time.
Too busy.
Yeah, and I didn't want to shortchange the center at all. I didn't want to shortchange the community. So I basically stepped aside.
Yeah.
And the person I nominated was the one who got elected, a female. And it's the first female in that community. And I'll never forget, it was like a drop the mic moment. After Juma, I got up to give announcements. And I says, I just wanted to let all of you know that the election's coming up soon. And I'm nominating somebody. I'm nominating somebody because of who they are and what they do in the community, inside the Muslim community and outside, because she was very involved in all of it and has been for years. And I says, I want to nominate Bibi Barami. And that was basically a drop the mic moment, because the population there in our community is mostly Afghan Pakistan. There's a lot of culturalism that I did a lot to try to get away from, because culturalism is not religion. It's not Islam, and it's taken a lot away from Islam, and it's given it a black eye in a way, you know. Especially the treatment towards women and the way we look towards the women. The women are precious gifts from Allah, man.
Yeah, people
Partners.
people confuse what people do culturally, and then mix that up with Islam.
Right.
Differentiate the two. Yeah.
So I made changes. I believed in the separation. I believed in the separation of men and women. I did not believe in segregation, where if we had a community events, they'd put up a divider in the room, women on one side, men on the other side. It's bogus. That's wrong. But I understood that there are women that if they, because of their cultural background, they don't feel comfortable sitting out there with everybody else. Okay, I mean, the women still had their own side, but we're all still in the same big room, which is fine. But the ones who didn't feel comfortable coming out there without the dividers, they could sit back in. They had a room right off of the main room, and so they had the choice. There was an instance before I became president that I went to the committee, because what they were doing was they were having too many men, and it was filling up the prayer room for Juma. So on Juma, what they were doing was they took the women's section and converted it to the men's section also, like an overflow, and then put the women in the library. And I stood up against that. Their whole thought was because of that famous hadith that has been totally flip-flopped into meaning something that it doesn't. And that's the one where the lady came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and said that my husband's jealous. He doesn't even like me praying, because he knows I'm talking to a man, and all this, that, and the other. I don't know the actual numbers or even which book it is, but it's a famous one. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, in all his wisdom, said, it's okay. Go to the closet and pray. You don't have to come to the masjid, because it creates conflict in your home. He told her that. So now somehow, 1,000+ years later, these men think that women don't need to be in the masjid. They really just don't have to be there. And so I explained this hadith. I broke it down and explained it. That's not what the Prophet was saying. Prophet was not saying that. He was saying this woman, because of her situation, didn't have to come to the masjid. Our sisters need to be in the masjid more, I feel, than our brothers do, because they're the ones raising our kids. We want them to have that connection. We want them to have that philosophy embedded in them, right, wrong, indifferent, and we want them to be able to have that portrayed in the children, because the men aren't going to do that because of the family structure. It just doesn't work that way. And so they said, yeah, you're right. And when I nominated this female for president, they came to me afterwards. As president, every Juma, I would always go to the library. I was open to having questions. People want to ask me something. People want to voice their concerns to me as individually. I'll be in the library. I stayed there for hours at a time. And bunch of the older brothers, especially the older ones, they come to me and they said, don't you think that's a little bit progressive, nominating a female to be president? I said, brother, why is it I'm always explaining your guys' history to me, or to you? I said, it's not progressive at all. Matter of fact, it's regressive. They said, how? I said, brother, who was the first Muslim? Khadijah. Who founded the very first university and library? A Muslim woman.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because men were off bickering with each other and fighting wars. The women did all of this. They built the society as much, if not more, than the Muslim men did. We have to give them their due and show them that respect. So, and they said, yeah, he's right. Again.
Man, thank you very, very much
man,
for, this is a very inspirational story, to see where you came from, what you were planning on doing, and to have you here with us, sharing this. It's a message of hope. It's beyond positive. It's something that if people really who have that hate in their hearts, they really just listen to this with a sincere, open heart, it can change so many hearts and minds, and that's a change for their better and humanity's better, because we got just too much hate in the world right now, and because of that hate leading to violence. And we've seen, like, just in this year alone, over 500 Muslims attacked, and just in America, and
Right.
and we need more of this. And I want to commend you. May God Almighty Allah continue to bless you and keep you firm on the deen, and inshallah we can meet up again sometime soon.
Inshallah, it'd be great.
Inshallah.
Yes.
And thank you guys for tuning in. And as I said, if you ask me, or if you ask our brother, are you Muslim now? You turned into a terrorist? No, I've submitted my will. I've taken that free choice that I have to worship a stick, a stone, money, materialism, a human being. No. The sun, the moon. No. I just want to worship the one who created me, and I want to be an upright human being. I want to help humanity. I want to make the world a better place. And if I happen to be American, which I am, I'm going to do it as a Muslim American, like the Muslim American hero Muhammad Ali. But the best of mankind that they were following, and our brother is now, are the prophets that God Almighty sent out of his love to guide humanity, just like Jesus, Abraham, Moses, and Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was just the last. They all came with that same message. Worship the Creator, not the creation. Be morally upright, and take it to another whole level of being the best human that you can be. We'll see you next time. Tune in here to the Deen Show every week. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time. Until then, peace be with you. Assalamu alaikum.